In India, when you hear made in China, it usually comes with a baggage. It's not just about the origin, it's about the expectations. From cheap toys, power banks, and all the way to full blown electric vehicles, you name it, and they make it. And we've all seen the good, the bad, and the bizarre side of Chinese products. Affordable? Sure. Reliable? Depends. The reputation has been one of compromised quality, replicated designs, and questionable longevity. No matter how good or bad a brand or a product is, the stigma of it being made in China remains no matter what. So when a Chinese brand comes back to India with an adventure motorcycle, one that claims to rival segment's biggest names, it's fair to raise an eyebrow. I recently rode the CF Moto 450 MT in Hyderabad at a very exclusive first ride before its official launch, and it left me thinking, maybe, just maybe this bike deserves a clean slate. Because, let's face it, the 450 MT is literally walking into a war zone, the mid-capacity adventure motorcycle market. The 2025 KTM Adventure 390 is sharper than ever with all sorts of different flavors and avatars to suit your choice. The Royal Enfield Himalayan 450 has created an entire cult of its own. The Hero Xpulse 210, on the other hand, is the budget-friendly underdog that is set to promise unbeatable value for off-road curious. There's absolutely no gap in the market. And these bikes already have something CF Moto doesn't. Brand loyalty, street cred, and a nationwide service support. So, is this a lost game already? I am not the one that judges too soon, and neither should you. Let's evaluate the 450 MT purely as a motorcycle, setting aside the brand assumptions. The 450 MT runs on a 449cc liquid-cooled parallel to an engine with a 270-degree crank. That staggered firing order gives it a deep, gritty exhaust note. It makes 44 horsepower and 44 Nm of torque, pretty much in the same ballpark as the Himalayan 450, but with a bit more top-end punch. Suspension duties are handled by KYB with 200 mm travel at both ends, with fully adjustable USD forks at the front and a rear monoshock, which also has a height adjustment on the linkage rod that allows adding 20 mm of seat height for taller riders if they need to.
This, by the way, is a lower seat variant. The linkage rod here is what makes the distance of the suspension and eventually the seat height by 20 mm. So this is at 800 mm and this is at 820 mm. So that's the seat height difference that you get by default. I actually don't find it that much different from I can easily flat foot it. Also, surprisingly, there's a lot of space to move around in the saddle. See, also the seat is quite slim between your legs, so for shorter people that may not be a bit of struggle.
In Hyderabad's urban traffic, the 450 MT reveals its first strength, manageable dimensions, and a well-balanced chassis. My first impressions as soon as I hopped on the bike were very evident of the same.
I can very easily hop on it, and it's wow, super duper light. And given the size of it, it doesn't feel as heavy at all. It's very light on its feet. The center of gravity is relatively lower, and compared to a Himalayan, it's quite nice. I mean, a Himalayan is quite top heavy thanks to the metal tank and a lot of components, but this one feels very light. What incredible balance, dude. At such low speeds, you can nicely saddle it around. I don't need to brake, I don't need to do anything.
The clutch action is also surprisingly light, making it a very accessible option for beginners.
This finger feather touch, single finger shifts.
The brand has been working on and experimenting with a lot of things, including the fueling, and as a result, I did notice a bit of jerking as soon as I took off.
There's a little bit of jitteriness.
But when I rang the throttle, the issue seemingly went away. We may have to revisit this when we ride it next after the 450mt officially launches. Out on the open road, the engine's character becomes more apparent. There's substantial mid-range punch that makes overtaking effortless, and the bike remains glued to the road at high speeds.
And this one can do 120 very easily, very damn easily. There's absolutely no sweat. This bike sheds speed like no one's business, huh? It stops really hard and really well. I love the brakes, and I'm not even putting so much effort into it.
The J1 brakes do a fantastic job slowing the bike down confidently and in no time. I was thoroughly impressed by the brakes.
Very nice brakes. And no matter what gear you're in, you can easily pick up from any gear. You'll see, huh? How low we can go. Easy. Very beautiful, very tractable.
However, what I've noticed is it feels a little lethargic around corners. I've tried multiple times leaning into the corners, and it takes some effort to slot into the leaning angle. And then all of a sudden you experience a sudden dip.
Dip होते रे एकदम corner मध्ये ही.
Which probably is to do with the block pattern tires by CST. I did highlight this to the CF Moto team, and they are trying to figure out a solution for it. Having said that, the tires provide amazing grip and feel absolutely confident and solid at high speeds.
Very nice brakes.
And the height adjustable rally windscreen provides effective protection without any wind buffeting.
Is the windshield at its topmost setting right now? Yeah, it is at its topmost setting.
I was quite surprised by the riding ergonomics that are extremely comfortable no matter what position you hold.
I can nicely saddle along and stand upright, or I can go into a aggressive position and, wing it. Absolutely wing it.
It gets wide bars, a super low and narrow seat that's well cushioned, and relaxed foot peg positioning, allowing long distance comfort. Combine that with a 220mm of ground clearance and a 21/18-inch tubeless spoked wheel combo, you have a setup that feels genuinely capable.
It doesn't have any fancy this thing. It doesn't have ride-by-wire. It does have traction control though. There's switchable ABS and traction control, but it doesn't have ride-by-wire. It doesn't have quick shifter. And honestly, I honestly don't think you need quick shifter on an adventure motorcycle, because you're not going to be racing it on the track. A race motorcycle for sure you need it, but not on an adventure motorcycle.
It also has a 5-inch TFT screen that is clean, crisp, and has Bluetooth connectivity and looks super premium.
What I've noticed is that there's a bit of loose ends. They seem like they've fitted them separately. There's a bit of play. Looks like it is an afterthought. It's like an aftermarket fitment. Hopefully they should fix this in the production variant. But otherwise the main components feel quite nice, very nicely built. I've not really tested it as much off-roads, but looking at the way it is handling, I don't know, speed breakers and stuff, slightly firmer, but it doesn't throw you around. It's not super bouncy. The adjustment to the suspension, honestly I've not done much because it needs a spanner, but there's compression and rebound, I'm assuming. I'll have to confirm that. I still haven't tweaked the suspension, to be very honest, and honestly to tweak around the suspension and play with it, I'll need some more time. So you know what I mean, CF Moto, you know what I mean, right? I mean, come on.
And while you're off the road, to protect the mirrors in case of a fall, you can bend them on the inside when not in need. But no matter how fast or slow you ride, I did not find any refinement or heating issues whatsoever.
And surprisingly, it doesn't heat. I mean, I've been belting it, so can't really say. I'll have to check it in the traffic how well it performs in such scorching sun. The engine may heat up. And I did not notice it, by the way. I completely forgot about it. There's no vibrations. There's absolutely no vibrations. Very, very, very little to make you feel like you're riding an engine. Very, very little on the foot pegs. Otherwise, there's nothing.
So quite evidently, the 450 MT makes a solid case for itself. So where's the hesitation? CF Moto entered India back in 2019 with bikes like the 300NK, 650 GT and the 650 MT. But the timing was kinda off. The pandemic hit, dealerships and service infrastructure never scaled, and Indian buyers, understandably, moved on. Even today, there are no signs of a wide service network or multi-city presence. And in a country like India, where a puncture in the wrong town can ruin a ride, that kind of uncertainty is a deal breaker for many. But zoom out and the story changes. I'm not sure if you know, but CF Moto isn't a new player. They've been around since 1989 and they're one of the biggest motorcycle manufacturers in China. They've sold bikes, ATVs, and even engines in over 100 countries. In fact, they also co-develop motorcycles with KTM. Their factories produce engines for both the brands. They in fact also compete in Moto3 championships with the same equipment as the KTM's factory team. This is in no way a beginner brand. It's just a lesser known brand here. Globally, the 450 MT is already making a name for itself. In Australia and Europe, it's being praised for its lightness, balance and comfort, and people have toured countries on it, testing its limits in all sorts of terrain. It's not a China special model made for emerging markets. This is a global product just now entering India.
As I just noticed, the suspension is slightly firmer. It rattles you up. Of course, these are like proper bumps, but it does rattle you up, but it doesn't feel like it is going to fall apart. And this has something to do with its Chinese roots. Don't hate me for this, but yeah, I mean, that's the fact that China has this reputation of, not building a good quality product, but this changes that a lot, okay? I had my reservations, to be very honest with you, but each and every component built on this bike is built to last. And as per what the engineers at CF Moto in India, I was speaking to them and they said that they've taken apart the entire motorcycle and assembled it again multiple times, and despite that it still holds like it's new. Like no part has worn off or starting to show its age. Even the panels, the bolts, the metal parts, the plastic parts, everything is purposefully built and very good quality. And I don't know how one would take this, but if this motorcycle did not have the CF Moto badging on it, or if it had an upmarket brand logo on it, it would sell like hot cakes. Genuinely, because it's the brand presence that makes the difference, especially in India. But I would genuinely suggest you hop on it once. Whenever it comes, just hop on it once. Forget riding it. Even hopping on it, I noticed the level of engineering, the difference it makes, the way it just lifts off the stand. It's so light. It's very light. And I love this master cylinder, by the way. It looks very, very aesthetic.
But we all know this perception won't change overnight. KTM, if you remember, was a lesser known brand in India once upon a time.
This is KTM's brand new street fighter, the Duke 200.
It also took years for KTM to build a reputation as an established brand in India. They entered the market, partnering with Bajaj with an aggressive approach, priced their motorcycles very competitively, offered features that were segment leading, and rapidly expanded their dealership and service network. And the rest, as we know, is history.
The best of you was a no-show, even though I never thought so.
CF Moto needs to and is also trying to do something similar. They have an extremely promising product with global accolades. Their approach this time, from what I've sensed while talking to the people at CF Moto India, is very grounded and deliberate. We also were asked for our feedback as motorcyclists to rule out any possible cons down the line.
CF Moto in India, by the way, it has been working and re-engineering the way the engine tune is. They've been tweaking the ECU maps and something as little as changing the spark plugs. It is like they're very fundamentally trying to, tweak and adjust the parameters of the bike to suit to the Indian conditions. And this approach is where I like the way CF Moto is operating at this point. They are paying close attention to what the Indian need is, and not just relaunching a product that has worked wonders in the global market and just throwing it in the Indian market.
Despite its potential, CF Moto is still very cautious with their approach on the 450MT for our Indian market. And they genuinely want to get it right this time around. But I'll be honest, as much as the world is comparing the 450MT to the likes of the KTM 390s and the Himalayans, I do believe that the 450MT is in a league of its own. I said earlier that there's no gap in the market, but given the twin-cylinder engine, the premium suspension, brakes and build quality on offer, the 450MT is definitely a notch above its rivals in the Indian market. All that's needed is a good service experience, spares and after-sales support. And while I understand that this is a paradoxical situation where the increase in sales will drive the increase in dealership and service network, I still wish CF Moto expands rapidly to provide the best ownership experience to their customers. They still haven't confirmed who will be their official partner in India, and we also don't know the pricing at which the 450MT will be offered. But it is going to be a CKD unit, for now, which means the prices naturally will be relatively higher. But from what I know, they're still going to keep it very, very competitive. And in my opinion, if they keep the pricing super aggressive, it will be a good starting point for customers to pay attention and start considering the 450MT as an option among the big leagues of the Indian ADV market. And once they hop on the 450MT, the bike itself will do the rest of the talking. The 450MT should hit the market and start flying off the shelves soon. But I do expect there to be localization of components and eventual manufacturing somewhere down the line. And CF Moto definitely intends to do big business in India this time around. And trust me when I say this, after riding the 450MT, I'm so impressed that I myself am considering buying this in the future and give it a shot. Because the product speaks for itself. It's honestly very easy to write it off. The lack of network, the uncertainty of after sales, and the shadow of a past attempt. But maybe this time, we need to stop asking where it's made and start asking what it's made of. Thank you for watching.